few minutes here. We're company builders. That's our model. It's not every VC's model. Some VCs make a boatload of money specific to stock. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe we're just not smart enough to pick stock. So what we do is we look for market opportunities and we look for starting teams that we can work with over the course of sometimes many years, more than we'd like, to build real businesses. And because of that, we have some pretty specific requirements going in. Teams are important, don't get me wrong, but markets are absolutely critical. And it's like air and water. I need them both to live, but I need air a whole lot more over the next few minutes. For us, market is the oxygen. If you don't have market, you can't make a company work. And I can come up with examples where a really smart team did a random walk for a while and came up and built a really great business. But in our experience, the vast majority of really great companies started out focusing on a really great business, a great market. Now, they may have, over time, evolved in how they approach that market, but the market was there. The other thing we look for, quite frankly, is in the team the DNA to build what we think is a quality business. So folks that understand how you think about hiring, how you think about spending money, folks who have the ability to tell the story in a very efficient manner. This is very important, by the way, because founders learn, and I was one a long time ago, very quickly, you are always selling. You are always convincing somebody of something. It started with yourself, but then your co-founders, your investors, bankers, lawyers, employees, executives, it's a mix. And so teams that can't tell the story very quickly have trouble to coin. People say, well, geez, you're always looking for the polished pitch. You know what? No, we're not. We don't care about the PowerPoint, quite frankly. We care about the story. So folks who come in who are authentic, understand the market, are talking about a really big business opportunity in the market, and can do it in a small number of words, get our attention pretty quickly.
Mother Teresa, do you have any comments?
I care about the people. No, I mean, look, I think it's a perfectly reasonable comment that the venture community is different. I think this is probably a good example of that, which is emphasis on market, emphasis on people. I think August has always been about focusing on investing in people. Now, that doesn't mean that you come in and, wow, I love you, and you're approaching and you're doing something really stupid. But I love you, so I'll fund you. I mean, I think it's a mix of things, right? You can have plenty of water and not so much air. You can have plenty of air and not so much water, and it just depends on which of those things you're sort of looking for. So I'd say that from where we sit, now the truth is what Greg describes is really about the people, which is that they're good salespeople, that they understand the market, that they're chasing something interesting, and they can describe it in an interesting and meaningfully large way. And so we would sit and look and say, well, those are great people. Now the question is this the killer market, right? And I think that from where we sit, you say, okay, these are really interesting, smart people that are doing something that may or may not succeed, but we think that they're going to approach it in a smart and interesting way, and so we'll back them, heading on a path that we don't think will be particularly straight.
Can I ask you a quick question? Both of you. How many of your startups are not previously successful entrepreneurs or didn't come from Stanford, Princeton, Yale, Harvard, MIT? Or the percentage, roughly speaking?
I don't know what the percentage is, but more than half are neither repeat entrepreneurs nor do they come from terribly great schools. In fact, oftentimes we find folks come from very surprising walks of life. We find really fascinating, great software developers that never really had a technical education. Odd ducks oftentimes are the most interesting founders to invest in.
Yeah, no, I think that, again, the fact that we don't know is probably an indicator that we don't worry about that too much, because if we did, we would certainly know, wow, this one's an outlier or whatever. There's a little bit of the myth of the serial entrepreneur, right? I mean, the wildly successful serial entrepreneurs often end up out here. They don't end up doing, building the next great thing. I mean, so what we're looking for is people who are engaged and engaging and are approaching something in a way that they can describe in a really interesting and facile way, and that is what's valuable.
But don't you guys see yourself as sort of top shot? I mean, I would actually say that you've built a brand where you can take advantage of that to some extent, and that you do have the opportunity to be able to select the best-in-class entrepreneurs because they're coming.
It may be true, I don't know, and it's very flattering if it is. It doesn't matter. Okay? It does not matter. What we find oftentimes is founders surprise us all the time They come to us with ideas about building businesses in the market, and we look at their background in the paper, and it's not obvious to us why they understand that market. And 5 minutes in, we understand that what's unique about their business is their unique view of the market. And as long as we can get convinced that the whole world is going to view that market the same way in 2 or 3 years, it's a highly disruptive opportunity.
I think that the interesting thing is that really the venture business is a volume business, and I don't mean that like we're going to fund a pile of things. But if you don't see a lot of opportunities and meet a lot of people, you won't find those individuals. Won't otherwise find those individuals or opportunities and say, "Holy cow! I would have had no idea that this is an interesting opportunity." And we've heard this today a lot, saying, to be a successful angel investor, you have to know a lot of people and get to see and hear a lot of opportunities. And I think that's certainly true for us as well, right? I mean, there are very few successful people who say, I only heard of 4 companies this year. I funded 2 of them, and they were awesome. Right? Whoever those people are, I want their lives, but that's not really the venture business.
All my children are
Let me put a finer point on that. Just in the Menlo Park office at Sequoia, we see thousands and thousands of business plans a year. More, easily 5, 6, 7,000 business plans, and we make between 15 and 25 early stage investments every year. We see an awful lot.
But don't be discouraged.
We really do read those emails.
Because those 15 are awesome. It's true. It's totally true.
So do you guys, do you guys see a difference in what startups need based on whether they're coming in at the Y Combinator stage, or they're coming in from an angel investor perspective, or where you guys are coming in? And let's assume that maybe from the Y Combinator stage, it's a 25 to 50K sort of number in a certain amount of time. From an angel investor perspective, maybe it's a 250 to 500K amount in a certain amount of time. And from your guys, let's say medium investment, 2 to 5 million. Are there differences in ways that you evaluate the companies that go to each of those options, or are all of those doors available to someone who's a really amazing entrepreneur?
I think it just depends on what you're trying to build, what the opportunity is, how fast you want to approach it, right? I mean, any of these things, I heard earlier the comment that venture investors, there's no such thing as too early for a venture investor, because if we really like it, then we'll do it. And I just don't know that that's true, right? I mean,